Hi, my name is Molly Wisniewski of The Upside to Aging and author of Caregiving Both Ways. Chapter 1 of Caregiving Both Ways talks about the unexpected caregiver. It outlines the 5 stages of caregiving leading up to caregiving for someone with memory loss. Sometimes it's overnight, but more often than not, the caregiver that ends up providing the intensive memory care um, experience between you and your loved one, if it's a family member or friend, it usually is the person that has been there through all of these stages. I think it's important to highlight that there are stages, and I think it's important that um, the person that's providing the care is given the opportunity to really see where they are in the process and offer them a moment to be reflective and see how they are able to take on the caregiving experience for their loved one. So uh, I want to start off by just saying that this relationship that we're sharing with our parents, and this can be parent. My focus will be on parents, but I think that it can be your friend, it could be a sibling, it can be your husband or wife, your spouse. Um, However, I'll mostly focus on caregiving for a parent because I think that this is an experience that many of us are sharing, and it's one that is um, it's not so black and white. That there's a lot of gray areas here. Some parent child relationships are loving and supportive, and the caregiver has everything that they need to provide a holistic experience for their loved one. And others have been um, not so resourceful and have had a very troubled relationship throughout the parent and child's time together. And now the child is put in a situation where they have to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to provide care for their loved one. So these are all important factors when going into the various stages of um, caregiving. So I want to discuss them. I have them written down. There's the 5 stages that I've kind of outlined, and there could be more, but these I think cover a lot of ground. So the first stage of a caregiver are is going to be a lot of lighter functions. Uh, you're taking them to a doctor's appointment, or you're checking in via phone calls, and occasionally maybe you're picking up some groceries. So normal taking care of mom or dad activities, but you're doing it in a conscious, oh, mom or dad needs a little bit more support here, so I'm going to provide that for them. Stage 2 of caregiving is scheduling appointments and then taking them to those appointments, as well as all of the items listed in stage 1. And though you're providing grocery pickup every week at this point. Stage three is going to be all of 1 and 2, so all of the activities in 1 or 2, and then you also are doing some light housekeeping around the house. Stage 4 is going to be all of the above, so all of the 3 stages, as well as physical care. So maybe they need assistance with getting dressed in the morning, or maybe they need assistance with brushing their teeth, going to the bathroom, taking a shower, those sorts of things. And even there's going to be levels of need in between. And then the 5th is going to be all of the above and memory care. So you're providing all of these functions as well as having to navigate memory care for your loved one. These stages, I think, are really important and are going to be foundational as we move forward. And we're talking about this because you could be in stage 1 and you might stay there for a really long time, but then others will experience being in stage 1 and then suddenly you're in stage 5. And it's that time in between that I think is really important, because a lot of times caregivers aren't given the time or the space to really process what's happening. They're kind of on the ground. So that's why I said earlier, somebody that's providing stage 1 care is typically going to be the person that's going to provide care throughout all of the stages, whether they want to or not. They might not have signed up for this, but they kind of become defaulted in this. It's that default that I want to acknowledge here. It's really important to know that it doesn't have to be a default, and giving yourself time and space to really process what's happening between you and your loved one is going to be vital in the type of care that you're able to provide for them. Because the impact on caregiving has on your life it's going to be significant, and you should have all of the, ideally, right, you should have all of the tools and resources in front of you to make this decision. Now, we don't always have that, unfortunately, but it's so important. So when you start assuming these caregiving responsibilities, taking a moment, reflecting on what else is going on in your life. Do you have children that you're upbringing? Do you have a full-time job? What is your financial situation? Because sometimes the two can get tied together very easily. One trip covering mom's groceries turns into 2, 3, 4 trips covering mom's groceries. And it just, again, it's this default that starts to happen. I think when you really have a chance to take a moment to see if this is something that you're able to take on, wonderful. That's great if you are. But if you aren't, I think that's just as important. It's just as important to say, no, this is not something that I'm going to be able to emotionally, physically, mentally take on right now. I have too many other obligations, so that this is true, that these are valid, and you're allowed to say no. However, you might be in a position now that you are in some stage of caregiving, that you're going to have to develop a plan, a caregiving plan for your loved one. So, and we can talk about this in other videos. Hopefully you're designing this plan before memory loss sets in. However, that doesn't always happen for a various number of reasons. So we'll get into that. But it is important to then start to see what resources do you have around you. So whether that's a sibling, whether that's a aunt or an uncle that may be able to provide some level of caregiving, either in addition to you or instead of you. Either one, again, is okay. Just to ensure that your loved one is safe and cared for throughout their journey. So this is, while the caregiving stages are there for you, they are also going through this, and they're also requiring care in a way that they may not have planned for. The other option, of course, is having a paid caregiver. So paid caregiving ranges. You can have companion care, so they're just coming in to sit with your loved one to provide companionship. They typically can do some of the functions in stage 1 and stage 2, all the way up to hospice care. So having this wide range of options and knowing what those options are also going to help you decide whether a full caregiving experience is for you. So this is just the groundwork of what I hope we can continue to talk about. I think that it is important to note that these stages, as we move forward, these stages could fluctuate for you, and that's okay. And sometimes you'll be if you're listening, you might just be in stage 1. It's a great opportunity to start planning and having these conversations with your loved one. If you're already in stage 5, we're going to be talking about that too. We're going to be providing resources and on-hand things that you can do, tangible things that don't require money. They don't require maybe some purchasing if you want to have a fun activity, but it is really going to be low cost solutions to kind of help address some of the memory loss. I thank you all so much, and I look forward to working with you and joining you on this journey.